It is overtime here again on Old Favorite Friday, discussing incredible classic craft beers. And the beer in front of me, I am almost giddy to have this beer available to me again. And this is a beer called Mokah from Southern Tier. It is an imperial stout. It is a coffee and chocolate imperial stout that really introduced me back in the day to the idea of these like kind of pastry stouts. We didn't call them that then, but these kind of adjunct stouts with these big, bold flavors. And I may have had another one that's similar to this, but these guys really deserve so much credit for not just doing beers like this, but doing them extremely well, making them really drinkable. And really, all of us owe a great debt of gratitude to breweries like Southern Tier for making this beer back in the day. But also, we should re-look at these beers, because I think the balance of the beer, of the Imperial Stout with these flavors, is just probably better than a lot of the breweries are doing this day, because it tastes like a beer with these flavors and it doesn't just taste like liquid chocolate syrup or coffee beans. I was able to pick this beer up after it was out of the market. This beer was a core beer for them for years and years, and part of their Blackwater series with the Java and the Chocolat, and then also their Oat, which was their oatmeal stout, and then Mocha. And they took them out of the market. They took them out of circulation. And apparently in late 2024, early 2025, they reintroduced this beer back into the market. And I just could not be more excited. I was in Tampa with my son doing the guys' weekend, and I just happened to run into this, and I almost did a double take. I could not believe, I did not think this beer still existed. I did not know it was reintroduced. And it's the only 4-pack they had. I would have taken a whole case if I had seen that they had more at the place that I was at. And I was giddy to have this beer again. There's so much nostalgia I have for this beer, because just in Southern Tier in general has always been one of my favorite breweries. Another one of those breweries that whatever they do, it's going to be really, really good. And the fact that this was a retired beer that is now back and available, and I have all this nostalgia, I have all these thoughts about this beer, and having it again just makes me so happy. And I am happier to confirm, still fantastic. Absolutely wonderful. The coffee in this beer is so well integrated, not acrid at all. It's there, it's roasted. You also have that sweet chocolate. It tastes like authentic chocolate. Once again, those two flavors of coffee and chocolate together go so well. This is a 10% Imperial Stout that has a little bit of bitterness that comes from that kind of roasted flavor. But it is a really, really good Imperial Stout, a really good beer that happens to have these kind of adjunct flavors added to it, which do not dominate the beer. It does not come off as overly syrupy or overly sweet. And I'm also getting other underlying flavors, because those flavors don't dominate as much as some other ones and more kind of contemporary pastry stouts, if you will, I should say. I'm getting this dark fruit, this blackberry, this black cherry that's kind of underlying it. I'm getting notes of caramel and vanilla, and it's all wrapped up in this really delicious package that, once again, is not too cloying. It is, when I think about us doing these kind of beers to this day, and I'm talking to our head brewer, Ralph, I think still in the back of my mind, we recently did a vanilla porter that's called Siren's Whisper. And in the back of my mind, I think this was a beer that I was thinking about. That's a porter, it's not an imperial stout, but a higher gravity dark beer with hints of vanilla into it. That's what I wanted, because this is where I really fell in love with this style and learned to understand the flavor balance, while still giving something a little heavy-handed, because you want it to taste like that ingredient, but not to go over the top with it. And I think that we as brewers sometimes get a little bit lazy with that, and we just think if a lot of this ingredient is good, a lot more will be even better. And then it just kind of tips the scales and it's kind of cloying and one-dimensional. This is none of that. Kudos to Southern Tier. A few months back, I know Sierra Nevada reintroduced some beers that I really love, like Tumbler, and I was so excited about that. And I was hoping that we would see a trend of some of these great breweries who have been around forever in the craft beer, American craft beer industry. And some of these beers have fallen off because they just stopped being as special. New beers came in, that the people that were into these beers got more hyped about these new releases, and unfortunately they didn't get the love and respect that they deserve, and sales went down. And then breweries decided, hey, we're going to try new things, which is great, and I have all the respect in the world for them for doing that. But then when we're 10 years down the road or 5 years down the road and people like myself are nostalgic for these brands and you can reintroduce them and they're just as good as they ever were, and they have a lot to teach us about how we should be making these beers and crafting these styles of beers going forward, it's just such a wonderful thing. Maybe I have more nostalgia over this beer than many people because it kind of came around at the exact same time as I was really exploring, bigger flavors and things of that nature. But I don't think you could not love this beer if you try it. If you like these flavors and in your imperial stouts, you're going to really enjoy this beer. There's a tiramisu version of their Blackwater series, which I have not seen. Once again, I don't think these beers really make it down to the South Florida market, but I'm going to be on the lookout for it. I'll just be on the lookout for anything for Southern Tier possible. If anyone's listening and they want to bring these beers down to the Fort Lauderdale, Miami area, I'd love to see them. I know there's no way that's going to happen. I don't have that kind of sway, but this is a great brewery. They are up there in the pantheon for me of the American breweries that just helped to define what American craft beer was going to taste like and laid the foundation for so many breweries to come. Just absolutely delicious. Talking about pairings here, coffee, chocolate, there's a lot of things that each one of those ingredients work well with together in this kind of package of being an imperial stout at 10%. It might limit the options, but I think something like a deep, rich chili that goes well with chocolate and coffee flavors and can be balanced out by some of the sweetness of the beer, because there is residual sweetness here. With a little bit of heat from the chili, that can work really well. And for like a mole, chocolate coffee kind of beer, I don't think you can go wrong with like a smoked brisket or smoked barbecue. You leave the sauce off and just try it with the meat. Things like a coffee rub or a chocolate rub work well on like a smoked brisket. So because those individual ingredients work well with making that dish, the beer version of it and those flavors being added to it really, really go well together. I don't know where it's available. If you are a local fan of Barrel Monks Brewing watching this and you don't see it in your local store, I'm sorry, but if anywhere you are, you can find this beer. As long as it's around, do it. You never know if it's never going to come back again. It might be a one-time release. I hope it's not. I really hope, as much as I love the blending of the chocolate and the Java, I want to have the individual beers. I'd love for them to reintroduce those. And I think a lot of people back in the day were like, oh, well, oat is just an oatmeal stout. It's not as exciting because it doesn't have the Java or the coffee or the mixture of the two. It was amazing too. So I want to see that one too. So Southern Tier, please bring back any of these beers. I'd love to have it. And I'd love to keep supporting you guys and talking about incredible beers that I was just thrilled to see existed again. Thank you guys for watching. Please poke around the channel, like and subscribe, see other videos talking about incredible, great beers. And if you see, by the way, a classic beer that might have been re-entering the market or what have you, especially if it's available in South Florida, please hit me up. Let me know, because I'm always on the lookout for these beers, and I get so excited when I can take a little walk down memory lane. We'll see you next week. Cheers.